So many have asked me how to change the brake pads on your bike, and I'm actually about to do that, not because they're worn out, but because I want to upgrade them with some little bit more aggressive ones. So it's a very quick job, very simple, and yeah, let me show you how to go about it. This bike has radially mounted brake calipers, which are these things here. That they are radially mounted means that they are sitting radially to the wheel rather than being attached from the outside. Main difference, I would say, is that these ones are fixed, they don't move at all, but the discs can move a little bit to center themselves. If you have traditional calipers, they will instead sit on a pin and they'll be able to move slightly, ever so slightly, if the disc makes them, well, requires it. So that's the main difference. And normally brake pads are, fastened with 2 bolts. We have 2 big bolts here. These need to come off, and then there's a pin which you pull out, and the pads will come out. There's also a retainer clip here and here to make sure everything's sitting flush and tight. So yeah, first things first, let's loosen up these 2 bolts. Okay, these are a bit tight, which they should be, and normally the torque to fasten these with is around 40 Newton meter, but you better check for your bike, and you better get a torque wrench to make sure that you have torqued them up properly afterwards. Okay, so bolts are out, we put them on the side, make sure we don't lose them, and with that, this entire caliper should come loose. You might have to move away some hardware if that is the case with your bike, and what you do is that you slowly loosen this up and pull it out between very difficult to do while I'm filming. You pull it out between the rim and the disc. So here it comes out. If you look at the underside, you can see the old discs. Mine are literally like new. These ones have done 12,000 kilometers. So yeah, very good condition, not really necessary to change. Next thing is retainer bolt needs to come out. Next, this bolt here, which actually holds the discs in, need to come out. Before that can happen, there is always a circlip that needs to come off. Don't lose this one, because you'll probably charge the shit out of it to get you a new one. So that one is on the side, and we simply loosen up this bolt, which is also very difficult to do with one hand. So to get this bolt out, you might have to press on this tab and then just pull it out. Something which I might not be able to do with one hand. Yeah, bolt is out. Take this clip away. Note which way it sits on. This one has the fatter side upwards. Put everything away. Okay, so now the pads should be simply just possible to slide out. So here we got them, plenty of meat on them, as I said. And if we take a look at the surface area, that looks pretty good as well. Now, before proceeding and fitting the new discs, I normally take time to clean off all of this hardware, so I'm going to go ahead with that. So yeah, this is roughly what it looked like before. After being cleaned, you get back to some kind of almost new feeling. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and clean everything up, and I will put some copper grease after. I will show you why and how. Okay, so this here is copper paste. What that is basically a very, very high temperature resistant grease, which is also anti-corrosive. Some people put these on when they are changing brake pads for a few reasons. First of all, to make some parts slide easily, especially if they're a bit corroded. Secondly, to protect against corrosion on these parts. But most importantly, the reason why you would use this is to avoid squeaking brakes, you know, the kind of whistling noise that brakes do sometimes, and that often comes from vibration, high-pitched, high-frequency vibration. And by putting some of this on the mating areas between the cylinders inside the calipers and between the pads, they don't vibrate that much. And you don't need a lot of this. So if, as you can see here, I have put some on the areas that are mating with the brake pads on the cylinders inside, and I have also put it on here, as you can see, on the pin that holds the pads in. Make sure that you don't put too much, and make sure you don't get this onto the discs or to the brake surfaces of the actual pads, because this will not go away and it will probably ruin the pads. So these pads here, they are new from factory. They should be all good to go, but just to make sure there is no oil or grease or anything on them, I normally give them a little wipe down before I fit them, just to better safe than sorry, right? Okay, so clean down, this is the next step. They're going to go into the calipers themselves. I won't be able to do this with one hand. Fitting them, yes, that will be no problem, but fitting the retainer bolt and the clip, I will have to do that without filming, because I need two hands for that basically. So in here they slide. Make sure you don't get any grease on them. And there you go. Next step, pin goes through here with the retaining clip, or I think it keeps pressure on them to avoid them from vibrating. So as you can see here, I fitted this bolt back in. It's a bit of grease here, and also this clip which keeps the pressure on the pads. Make sure to separate the pads as much as possible without touching them, because you will need distance between them to get this back onto the disc again. Let's see if I can manage to do this with just one hand. So much for that part. Need the bolts. And this is why I have to put my phone away, because this needs two hands. Now, this is really, really important. These bolts need a certain torque. You need to tighten them hard enough for them not to move. And of course, this is your brake, so this is incredibly important. At the same time, you don't need to over torque them, because that could strip the threads that they go into. So now you need to use a torque wrench for that, and use the settings for your bike, probably around 40 Newton meter. I don't have my torque wrench here right now, so I'm going to torque this up later tonight, but for now this is tight enough. But yeah, this needs to be torqued down with the torque wrench. Then final advice or warning: before you drive off, make sure that you pump up the pressure here, because as you see, it will take a few pumps before the pistons in the calipers come out and start touching the brake discs. They are pushed back now. So here. Okay, now we have brake. So that's incredibly important to do before you ride off, because otherwise you have no brakes. So I hope that was informative and that it helps someone. This is really not difficult, anyone can do it. It took me about half an hour to do both sides, including the slowdown that preparing this video actually contributed with. So yeah, good luck, and remember to torque down those bolts that hold on your calipers, and also to pump up the pressure in the master cylinder. See you next time.